So one of the habits that I have taken up and that's really been helpful in ordering my life is just like making the sign of the cross all the time. Apparently, the early church, and I love it, like the way that they describe. It's like so charming. Like we make the sign of the cross all the time. When we come in the house, when we eat, when we do everything, when we bathe, when we make our food, all the time, sign of the cross, and just like the enthusiasm and everything of the early church. But yeah, it's like such a convenient shorthand for a lot of things, something that can become very concentrated with a lot of meaning just from being sort of so universal but also very simple. And it's also being a sort of physical action is a way to like stay grounded. And I mean, I'm not going all the time around like this. It's just I've noticed that it's like become sometimes like a mental gesture, even just as a reaction to all sorts of different classes of things, and then I'll like do that, but you can barely even notice. But yeah, it gives a lot of coherence, and some of this is just my own ideas or usage, which I'm sure will continue to evolve and deepen, and some of this is from this one book that I read on the sign of the cross by some Catholic. And again, this is one of the moments where for some reason I would like do this automatically as a sort of apology or surrender of said tone toward the Catholics. I don't dislike the Catholic Church, just like even this book was like super preachy and like super about the youth of today are like so corrupt and just very uptight in its tone. I'm just like reading this and I'm just like trying to get the good out of it, but it just puts me off so much. And that tone is more present in the Western branch of Christianity to me than in the Eastern. And I continue to interact with like Catholicism, but I don't know. It's like I'm always like dodging that sort of spirit. But anyway, it was a good book, and it's interesting the amount of like miracles that are attested and how that was sort of a part of the ancient world and life a lot more than we consider now. Although if we were to look around, it's just the same. It's like things just go by different names. Anyway, the enchanted world, and perhaps you could say that the sign of the cross is an instrument by which the world becomes re-enchanted. To put it, because enchant means like in song, and this is also, something like that is also what you do if you're like song leading. At least in the church that I was at, they were teaching all the guys like how to do it. Somebody explained it to me. But anyway, so enchant and song. There's another one to add to this list. First of all, I guess the word sign is a very deep word and like has to do with semiotics and just really the way that everything exists as a symbol. So the fact that it's called the sign of the cross might be like that it indicates the name and like the meaning and the pattern which is present in anything that is a sign. It's like the ultimate sign. Well, if you're in the Christian world, the ultimate sign. Also, the 4 directions is a very basic pattern. René Guénon wrote a whole book on it that I haven't read yet. But, and there we go. So like I was about to say that I like need to read, and I have this negative tone, like judging myself, like, I haven't read it yet, so I'm bad for having not read it yet, and there's all this whole list of books, etc., and that whole thing of like stressing out over all the things that I haven't done that I should be doing, that's just like I'm not doing enough. And so my instinct is like, and it's just a no, but just like to get rid of that. Anyway, but the 4 directions are, it's a very basic and like fundamental pattern of space, So one use of the sign would be to like, well, before you start doing something, or before I start doing something, or like go into somewhere, out of somewhere, to establish or like to open a space or sacred space, or to seal or finish something. Because the 4 directions. And then I was thinking space and time, and I guess I could also think of, this is not a like orthodox use of these are just like this cluster of symbols which has grown for me around this gesture. But I guess I could also connect it to the way I think of time, as if you consider the eon above coming down, and then like hope, memory. So the Catholic way is like left to right, and the Orthodox is right to left. I usually do right to left, but anyway. So space, time, also. Because I suppose a lot of my thought is about, or a lot of what settles me back in thought is just like remembering how time works and moving in the right way through time and not becoming all tense and impatient. Also, it says in the book like to make an action valid or perfect or holy, but just all the time. This gesture indicates like my sealing something or like finishing it or like surrendering it, whether that be a thought, whether that be like this video if I was about to finish, or like an idea that I sense is like about done for now and needs to be let go to be developed further later, or just anything, because being a perfectionist, one feels like it's never enough, and you're like worrying, did I do enough? And you're just like seal it for now. Similarly, I guess like with the cross as definition or limitation or vocation, as I was saying, I guess to make that over something would be to say that like it is what it is, and acceptance, and also become what you are. And the book said like to restore the virtue of something and its natural virtue. Or as the Lord of Spirits podcast said, that's what blessing is. Like that state of blessedness is in being the right web of relationships, providing a healthy identity which produces life. To bless something is to restore it to that state. Whether that be a person or like an object. To restore it to its place in that web. Anyway, so like, it is what it is. Or like to cleanse or to exercise. And I use this all the time to just like cut off sort of obsessive and sort of compulsive thoughts, or like negative thoughts or patterns of thought that I sense and I don't want. And really it works a lot. Through the habit of doing this, it becomes a shorthand for like just cutting that off. And yeah, I mean, of course, the more that I make this sign and give it credence and use it, the more like powerful and the more meaning it will gain. But yeah, that just to cut off thoughts that I don't want. Or if there's a good thought, like just as a sort of like thank you, or sort of. And then of course, if something is broken or something is bad or might be, or anything negative, the cross, of course, being like Christ's body and his wounds, and a lot of that I see as the redemption and holding of all suffering and like all negativity, that even that is held within the divinity and will be redeemed and integrated and used for good. So to indicate, or like to integrate whatever it is into the wounds of Christ, into his body, so that it can be healed. Also just as a shorthand prayer, again, of like if something's good, or like thanks, or like asking, or like please, or something. Or if I see something that like makes me sad in the world outside, and I'm like, that needs to be fixed. or anything over which I have no control. Just surrendering, or like, yeah. And just really catch-all, honestly, either mentally or like very subtly. I'll just notice I've gotten into the habit of just like making the sign of a cross is basically a catch-all reaction to like anything. And it's sort of funny because if I ever see any emblem, of course, of Christianity, but also of like another religion, like there's a statue of Buddha, or the Buddha downstairs, and I'll always be like, "Ee." But I don't do it in like a, oh, I must exorcise this demon way. It's like as a gesture of, it's like as a friendly gesture, but if somebody seeing me would probably think that I was doing it in like a kind of way. But yeah, those are just a loose list of the arrays of application of this that I've used. It's just been I haven't really intentionally built this habit, but it's just been a habit that's sort of built for me now. I'm very glad, and I'm like trying to do more research and to deepen it, because I think the early Christians had something, some reason in that, and it's very helpful. Just ties things